Okay, you need to be ready for the chain rule on this test because it's chain rule, seems like on this one. Uh-oh. All right, so, boom, boom, boom. All right, now we can see. So, first one, how would you attack it? Chain rule. So, how do we do the chain rule on this? 3 parentheses x squared plus 2x plus 4 squared. Is that it? No. Times first derivative of the inside, which is 2x plus 2. Now, what does it say here? What does that mean? Find the first derivative at 2. So I'm going to plug in my 2 each place. So it's 3 times 2 squared plus 2 times 2 plus 4 squared times 2 plus 2. Lots of 2's there. Okay, 2 squared is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 is 4. So this is 12 squared, which is 144. So it's 3 times 144. And this is 4 plus 2, which is 6. 3 times 144, that racks my brain. That's like a big number. 438? Dang it. 432. 432 times 6, which is 3,792? Oh boy, Mr. Bierschbach. Can't multiply. Under pressure. Failure. Okay, 2592. Okay, we good with that? Chain rule, plug in the number. Where's Maggie? She dropped off her bag and... Nah. It's Maggie. I don't know if her mom can even keep track of her. Okay, this one. What would this be? Chain rule, quotient rule. Okay? So 4 times x over x minus 2 to the third power times the first derivative of the inside. What's the first derivative of the inside? Quotient rule. So it's x minus 2 times 1 minus x times 1 over x minus 2 squared. So it's 4. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it x cubed over x minus 2 cubed. The reason I did that is because of this over here on the right side. What's x minus 2 minus x? Negative 2 over x minus 2 squared. So let's simplify that. What's our final answer? How we do? What would this be? Chain rule again. Like I said, this test is lots and lots of chain rule, but you have the other rules built in. So you have to know the product rule. You have to know the quotient rule and so on. So chain rule here. is 4 times what? 4x to the third minus 3 to the third power times 12x. So in the end, it's 48x squared times 4x cubed minus 3 cubed. We good with that? Sure hope you are, because that's how it's going to look. What rule is this? Maggie? Chain rule, exactly. So this is really cosine of x to the fourth power. So how do we chain rule this? 4 cosine of x to the third power times negative sine of x, which is negative 4 sine of x cosine cubed of x. What do you think we do here? Broken record, chain rule. It's a chain rule though, right? So this is y equals the sine of 2x, everything to the fourth power. Okay, so it is 4 sine of 2x to the third power times the cosine of 2x times 2. You can't forget the last times 2, because on the test, there'll be an answer that'll be just this, and then an answer, which is the correct answer, which will be 8 sine of 2x, sine cubed of 2x, cosine of 2x. And this is the right answer because of that 2 in the end. Okay? So, make sure you remember all the steps of the chain rule. Okay, implicit differentiation. Okay, we've been getting pretty good at this. We've been hit with this quite a few problems now. Implicit, first step. 8x, simple as that. Minus 2x times dy dx minus 2y plus 12y dy dx equals 0. So it's basically 12y minus 2x dy dx plus 8x minus 2y equals 0. So 12y minus 2x dy dx equals 2y minus 8x. Then divide by 12y minus 2x. But the answer will not be 2y minus 8x over 12y minus 2x. It will not. What will it be? Y minus 4x over 6y minus x. Everything is divisible by 2. It will be divided by 2. What is the slope of that equation at that point? How do we start it? implicit differentiation. So how do we take the first derivative of 2y squared? 4y dy dx plus 6x dy dx plus 6y minus 6x equals 0. So we have 4y plus 6x dy dx equals 6x minus 6y. Divide. Divide everything by 2 again. But we're not done because we're trying to find the slope. Plug in a 2, plug in a 1. So you get 6 minus 3, which is 3, over 2 plus 6, which is 8. 3/8 is the slope. I hate inverses. So basically, g prime of x equals 1 over f prime of g of x. Correct? That's our inverse formula. Okay, so we want to find g prime of -2, which equals 1 over f prime of g of 2. We aren't given what g of 2 is, are we? Oh, g of -2, sorry. Oh, we are given g of -2. It's 5, isn't it? So this is equal to 1 over the first derivative of 5. I bet this is supposed to say the first derivative. Let's pretend it says that. What's the first derivative at 5? -1/2. So it's 1 over -1/2, which is -2. Yeah, that's what it'll say. So I just forgot the first derivative mark there. Okay? We good with that? Okay. So if you haven't been paying attention yet, focus on this one because this looks different than what you see in Khan Academy. All right. G of x equals f inverse of x. So these are inverse functions. What's the value of the first derivative of 4 given the table below? So g of the first derivative of 4, if they're inverses, equals 1 over what? The first derivative of f at g of 4. What's g of 4? G of 4 is 0. What's the first derivative of f at 0? So it is 1/8. Even though that looks a little different, it's very similar to Khan Academy. This one was actually the easier of my inverse problems I have on here. Arcsine. And it's arcsine with the chain rule. All right. So what's the formula for arcsine? Well, that's the inverse sine. The inverse sine of u equals u du over the square root of 1 minus u squared, right? So how do we do this? What's du of that? What's du of that function? 3x squared over the square root of 1 minus x to the 6th. How about we do the arc cosine of 2x? What's the only difference between arc sine and arc cosine? The top is negative. So it's negative du. What's negative du of this? Negative 2 over square root of 1 minus 4x squared, because it's 2x squared, which is 4x squared. Let's do arctangent, which is du over 1 plus u squared, which is 6x over 1 plus 9x to the 4th power. So the arcs are all there. Find the first derivative of that. This is not very difficult. Okay, what's the first derivative of the sine of x? Or the inverse sine of x? 1 over plus what? This is 4x to the 1/2, so it's 2x to the negative 1/2, or 2 over the square root of x. And this is how it'll be on, pretty sure that's how it'll be on the test. Yeah, it'll look like that when it comes test time. Little bit of a sinister laugh there. Oh my. Take the second derivative of this. Okay, this is what separates the really good AP Calc students from the ones that go, huh? What do we do? What's the first derivative of y? dy dx equals 4 cosine of x over 2 times, thank goodness, 1/2. Because x over 2 is 1/2 x, right? The first derivative of 1/2 of x is 1/2. So dy dx equals 2 cosine of x over 2. Now we're taking the second derivative of this. Okay? So the second derivative of this, so it's d squared y dx squared equals negative 2 sine of x over 2 times 1/2, which is negative sine of x over 2. Well, that wasn't bad. If x squared plus y squared equals 100, what's the second derivative at negative 8/6? Well, let's find the first derivative first. How do we find the first derivative? 2x plus 2y dy dx equals 0. So dy dx equals negative 2x over 2y, which is negative x over y. Now we need to take the second derivative. So d2y dx squared. Second derivative of this. Quotient rule. Y times the first derivative of negative x. Negative 1 minus x. Or minus a negative x, right? Times dy dx all over y squared. And we said dy dx was negative x over y. So plus a positive here. So it's negative y minus x squared over y all over y squared. No, because a negative times a negative is a positive here, but we had a minus sign in front of it. So we had a subtraction of negative x, and this was negative x over y. And these two negatives, sorry, tip my screen. These two negatives multiply times each other and cancel each other out. I guess. Okay. Now, you could try simplifying this more, but you really don't need to because at this point you can plug in your points. So we go negative 6 minus negative 8 squared over 6 all over 6 squared, which is negative 6 minus 64 over 6 over 36, which is, okay, get a common denominator on top, so it's negative 36 over 6 minus 64 over 6 over 36, which is negative 100 over 36, or over 6 over 36, which if you multiply by 1 over 36 to get rid of that, is negative 100 over 36 times 6 is 216, right? Which equals negative 50 over 108, which equals negative 25 over 54, which is my slope. Oh, The inverse cosine of that. Well, the inverse cosine is du, negative du, over the square root of 1 minus u squared. What's du here? Eight x plus 2y, but you know, with the negative in front, distribute the negative. 2y dy dx all over the square root of 1 minus 4x squared plus y squared squared. Yeah. I think we'd stop right there. Look like a good place to stop for you? Because it looks like a good place to stop for me. I think that's it. That's the basics of what you're going to see. Okay? All right. So